Well, joining us from somewhere around the world, folks, Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Pastor Paul, doing well today. Doing well.
You sound good. Everything's okay. I know you're busy.
Yeah, it's been a very busy day indeed.
Let me ask you a question tonight, because before I want to talk about this volcano off the coast of Oregon that they just brought up. Says this thing's going to blow, but
they're talking about it now.
Yeah,
huh?
they are. Matter of fact, here's the headline: mile deep underwater volcano could erupt off the west coast this year. Scientist says it's imminent, 2025. It told ABC News that. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, last year, I was drawing attention to that very channel of volcanoes in the sea, and there were some monsters.
I remember you saying
that's not the only one. Any one of those volcanoes would be a trigger for the rest. And guess what? It's not a question of if. There is no if. Those things are highly active. That's an active area. There are dead forests out there because of magma. All right. So it's constantly churning and on the move. It is going to go. And when it goes, I just pray they have provisions in place. I know they won't.
They don't.
To
they
handle
don't. Because nobody even knows. I mean, now you told us a year ago there was 13 volcanoes along the West Coast.
The whole line is waking up, yes. And underwater, a whole line is waking up. So everything in that area is waking up. Everything. So it is. I know they're talking about the axial seamount, but Pastor, there are some monsters in that area.
So you say the seamount's big, but you're saying that's not even the worst one.
No, it's not the worst one. When they make something public like that, they always seem to. It's good they're drawing attention to it, because that will cause some sort of preparation for people, because nobody else is saying anything about it. It's just sad that they won't really release the extent of that issue. People are still going to live there. They're not going to get up and move.
No.
But at least they'll be well informed of where they are. It's kind of like San Francisco. You hear everybody's talking about Los Angeles and those areas, but is anybody talking about Frisco, Monterey Bay? Nobody.
No,
right?
Nobody's talking about that.
They have some additional problems in that area, instabilities, right? Catalina Island, same thing is happening. They have massive instability. So California, and given some of the weather patterns that are coming through, because I tell you, they're just, I don't know, it's like they're focusing. Hopefully, I believe, and I hope he believes it, because I hope Trump can say something about it. I know he's being advised. I already know that. And sometimes advisors, they say things to get people to calm down for a bit. But if they don't bring attention to this weather that people are going to get
out west
almost immediately, right? We're talking about U.S. wide.
Okay.
California is going to get a certain type. All the southern states are going to get a certain type. Everybody in the north is going to get another type, and all of it's going to be devastating. If they don't warn people about that and warn people about a very high probability, we're talking about flooding on a brand new level this year.
What?
This year on a brand new level.
In the United States?
Yes, in the USA. If they don't get people ready for this, who in the world is, because they have so many stipulations on federal funding for scientists. Scientists are frightened to talk about some of the more immediate issues. For example, did anybody warn anybody about the floods and the heat that was coming in 2024?
No,
they didn't. What about 2023? Nope, they didn't.
No.
It's progressively getting worse. Are they saying anything about the heat and the fires and the water in 2025?
No,
they're not. There's going to be no insurance companies left after this year. With the weather phenomena that we continue to have. Is anybody talking about the rise in the oceans away from the equator? How it's already shifting north? Anybody saying anything about that?
No.
There are highly irregular patterns on the equator. It's doing exactly what certain things suggested, which means our equator is on the move. Nobody controls its movement. It's going to do whatever it wants to do. We can only track where it's going, and it's on the move. So that's going to start killing certain bands of the ocean as it continues to move. But it's also going to cause these temperate forest regions that we enjoy so much. It's going to cause them to be arid regions. Watch and see. You're going to see entire grass plains turn into dirt this year. Watch and see. Entire grass plains.
What do you mean, just die from the drought or fire? Or
yes. They're gonna have rain, but they're still gonna die. They won't be. The grass is the types of grass that is out there is not going to be able to withstand the conditions they're being thrust under. You're looking at a heightened UV, right, from the sun.
Okay.
The sun is already past it hit its max a little bit ago, right? Maybe a week ago. It hit its maximum. So those large coronal holes that people are starting to see, this is the activity of the sun kicking up again, and it's going to be very unpredictable, and about 10 times more dangerous than it ever has been. But this weather that we're having last year in 2024, lot of people in Florida, their grass died and turned to dirt. A lot of people in the southern states, the same thing. A lot of people in the Midwest, the same thing. So grass is just, turning to dirt, and it's doing something to the soil. That's probably due to the sun's radiation. People are becoming sick. Last year, there were more reports of people being sickened by the sun, right? Sun poisoning. You know how they say, you got sun poisoning.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it took an all-new high last year, right? There are several things that they won't talk about. They eventually publish, but they won't talk about. But this year, Pastor Paul's, the weather is going to be active and devastating. I mean, totally devastating.
I agree.
And so we're looking at a mixture of events that people are just not prepared for.
No.
Because they don't know about it. And these scientists that know what's happening to America and the world, they're under so many different types of NADs and they can't say what they want to say, and they don't know who's going to pay them, and they don't know what they can research and what's going to get approved, because if they say the wrong thing, their funding is pulled.
Yeah, that's true.
It happened to Stephen Hawking, 4 times? He got his funding pulled, and he had to really barter to get it back. And so these guys don't know what to say. They can't warn the people because they're afraid of what will happen if they do.
All right, Mike, let's go to this as well. Okay, I know you made the statement that in February, a lot of people are going to start dying or something like that. And I threw it at you right at the end of the show, and you said, let's talk about that next week. So, Mike, let's talk about it tonight. Can you share with us kind of what you mean by that? Let me
set it up, because I can't be too direct on this one, but let me set it up.
Okay.
Everybody sees what's happening, right? Everybody does. There's been deportations of gangs taking place.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Everybody sees that.
Yes.
Now, to date, nobody has seen big reprisals. I mean, they're being flown out of the country.
Yeah.
They're being flown back to their homelands, right?
They're flying them on C-130s, yeah.
Right. In the Middle East, the same thing is happening. You have all these people who were militant at first. All these countries do not want to deal with them, right? Trump made a deal, and he said, hey, take the people and let's flatten, Gaza and start rebuilding there and get the people out of there so we can rebuild it. But Egypt said no. Jordan said no, we don't want them. Saudi Arabia didn't want to cooperate because they don't want the extra burden, right?
Right.
So what's happening is these people are being shuffled around. The same people, the militant folks are being shuffled around. Gangs are being kicked out of the USA.
Yep.
And now all of us know some of these people are young, and they don't understand what's happening with the gangs. He's doing his best not to touch families. To date, Trump has not disrupted what people think he has. But the gang members, they're a big problem. Come to find out, these gang members come from all over the world, right? They're just not cartels. That's not they're just not cartels. And the cartels comprised of Hamas. Did you know that? Of, these Iranian troops and Chinese folks and everything else. It is and they love to kill. Now, these guys, as they're being kicked out, they're starting to communicate. They're starting to coalesce in groups. That means they're going to get together and they're going to start turning in every way possible against the USA.
Okay.
They're going to turn, and this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem we're going to have to deal with.
Who's going to turn?
The USA.
Are you talking about the gangs, or are you talking about the other countries that are having?
We're talking about the country. These people are being sent back to these countries, right?
Okay.
Germany, Europe is furious at the USA.
What?
Canada is furious at the USA. And if you could hear them in their little congressional meetings, you would say, no way they're talking tough like
What
this.
are they upset about? What, about us sending people back to their countries?
No. They're anything. I'm telling you right now, you think the Democrats in the USA, and some of them are upset about President Trump?
Oh, just Trump in general.
They don't compare
Okay.
to these other countries.
Wow.
They don't compare. And I'm telling you now, it's different now. It's not like it was before. It is not like it. That's why we had our little talk on the thing you were doing, and China was mentioned with their artificial intelligence. And what did they do 3 days later? They released their artificial intelligence.
Here it is, Mike.
Right?
Deep seek.
That's right.
Yep.
That's the very thing we discussed.
Yeah.
And but at first people thought that was some sort of a joke. No, it isn't a joke. That's not a joke at all. You're looking at a system, right? We're not talking about stage 1 AI, stage 2, which is context based. We're not talking about stage 3, which is narrow domain AI. We're talking about stage 4, reasoning AI. The AI we're not supposed to get to until 2036.
What?
That's what they're utilizing.
Whoa. This is 2025. I mean, we're way out ahead of this.
We are behind. We're behind the cone. I mean, we're behind the mark. They are ahead of the game. Keep in mind, these guys had camera systems, right? Where nobody sat behind them, but they would track people. And if that person had some sort of infraction, they couldn't even use their bank account that day. And no individual in China would control the system. The system had and in fact, China was using narrow domain AI in 2020. They were utilizing it very well.
Well,
so
they had this.
We're just now getting to that.
They had the social credit score. They were doing that before even the outbreak. Before the pandemic.
And that requires collection of data, right?
Yes.
Do you know what makes AI? Data.
That's what feeds
data.
It. That's what feeds it.
AI cannot be AI. Artificial intelligence is nothing without data. You have to have tons of data sets. And China's been collecting data on the entire earth. They've been hacking into everything. I mean, these guys have hacked they have everybody's data. See, when that secret came out, they had no choice but to push this DeepSeek narrative. China didn't release that. No. China did not release to the world that they had this artificial intelligence system.
We
did that. We brought up
Stargate in our, of course, our webinar that really all came out. And then boom, these guys come out with it like 3 days later.
Yeah, but you know who these guys are?
Who's it, us?
That's right. China did not put that out to the public. We did.
Wow. So
now imagine that.
Why did
imagine that?
So what was the reason for us doing that? What was our reasoning?
Because inside of the USA, there's internal strife, right?
Okay.
And people, I'm telling you, when President Trump made his announcement, $500 billion for Stargate, and China spends 5.6 million, just 5.6 million on their artificial intelligence system, something is wrong. There are people who, when OpenAI began, people jumped out of OpenAI, right?
Yeah.
Because they saw it going in the wrong direction. They saw it going for the money grab. And that's not what it was devised for. You're looking at DeepMind, things like that, all these different artificial intelligence systems.
Yep.
They're going to be, but they're looking at, they're going to through NVIDIA, all of it's going to be combined, which will comprise the brand new Stargate, not the old Stargate. That's why I don't even like using that name. You remember the old Stargate program, right?
Okay,
it was an old Stargate program.
No, I don't.
Well, the old Stargate program, it included the CIA and remote viewing and all this other stuff. That's what the old Stargate program was. The new Stargate program it is taking all these systems, causing them all to be one. In effect, that is, that is a doorway to a brand new world.
Yeah.
Why? Because DARPA knows what it created. They can't tell anybody, but they know what they created. CERN knows what they have done and what they have achieved. All these different, facilities around the USA and around the world, Pastor, they've achieved things that'll just make everybody question life itself.
Wow.
Period. And so, nobody should get the idea that things are normal because they're so abnormal. People are going to try and hold the optics of things being normal. But I tell you something, when it breaks out, the world's just not going to be ready for that. They're just not going to be ready. And Deep Seek, Pastor, is our spy we can never get rid of. We have a problem that goes with question number one. Why would people start dying in February?
Yes, go back.
Because there's an underestimation. We underestimate the enemy. It's sad to see, but we're underestimating the enemy.
Okay.
We're underestimating. It's very difficult for any president that would care about this country. This is a very difficult environment to work in because there are traitors all over the place. There's snakes all over the place.
So when you say people are going to die, are you talking about U.S. lives or globally?
This would be total. You're looking at a total change of the globe itself, right? This axis of what Americans will call evil, right? They've already made that declaration. Putin last night Putin was talking and he had a serious conversation with a reporter. And he again was talking about the sovereignty of Russia, right? And how it's under threat. He was talking about that, but he said the world is discarding the sovereignty of Russia. And he said Trump was discarding the sovereignty of Russia. And what worked last time will not work this time, he said, right? Which is probably why he shipped some of the nuclear weapons that he had, I believe last night, partly today, to another, extended that power to another location. The nuclear weapons. He's been advancing his nuclear weapons outward for some reason. That is not a good sign.
Belarus?
It's just not a good sign. No, not Belarus, further out.
Okay.
He's also been utilizing, he gave the world a demonstration on purpose. And he let everybody know you can't stop it once it starts, right? Most leaders are in agreement that because we have so many things deployed, Pastor Paul, at some point, somebody is going to cause a problem. Right?
Somebody's gonna make a mistake.
Chemical weapons in the last 30 days have been used. Chemical weapons have been used, and people are not. They're so trained to discard things they can't see it. And it's only with all of these folks, with all the gangs that have been kicked out. I'm going to say something. There's going to be some folks who have the hearts and minds of American citizens. Hear me, please. I hope everybody can hear this.
Okay.
Some of these folks in the USA love the folks who are being kicked out.
Yeah, that's true.
And the folks who are being kicked out, they constitute the world of some of those who are still in the USA. By kicking those people out of the country, those people in the USA lost their world. So it's no reason for them to live at all.
Oh.
Right?
So we create an
That's
enemy.
how bad it is. That's how bad it is. And they're here in America. They are not going to hesitate to combine forces for maximum growth.
You see an internal uprising among the residue, let's say, or the people still left in the country after so many people get pushed out or get deported. There's going to be a residue rise up that are left to create potential terrorist activity, I guess, in a big way in this country.
You add that to some of the geological problems, the immediate issues that we're facing, right?
Okay.
And some of the celestial issues that we're facing.
Yes.
We have a collection of problems right now. But personally, I'm not worried about anything. If we can make it through 2025, it'll be a blessing. It will. Because I know that everybody is not going to make it through 2025. I know for a fact they will not.
Let's talk about that, because I heard where you mentioned about two bodies. There's two heavenly bodies, and the reason we haven't seen them or we don't know about them is because of the planet.
One is a void, and one is entirely too cold by way of in comparison with everything else out there.
Okay, the planet X or Nibber.
And a void.
What's the void?
Well, a void is just destruction itself. That's what a void is. A void is it is just destruction. It's not going to follow a preordained path. It's going to disrupt the asteroid belt, and we're going to have some issues. And by the way, we've already got something within this is estimation, but I think 3 months that is supposed to hit the asteroid belt within a 3-month period, right?
What?
It'll hit the asteroid belt. Now, if it hits the asteroid belt, all bets are off. Isn't it a blessing how nothing has hit the asteroid belt?
It's been a miracle.
Can anybody see what's actually happening here? Because you know how people say, we get a small percentage that will be hit by something big. No. Well, it's a small percentage. It's a small percentage that we're still sustained. There's something I saw today and yesterday, briefed on last week. Just because the world does not know it, they can never react by it. There are things that if people knew, they would fall apart. Put it that way. And we're going to see that manifestation in February, part of it. Okay. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, because without a warning, it doesn't exist. And then when it happens, it's not like it just happened overnight. If we have a large earthquake, a large one, right? It's not like it just, happened out of the blue that one moment. No, it's been building up this time.
We've been anticipating. Matter of fact, we're overdue really on a lot of these. We had the earthquake. It shook Boston this week, Mike. Remember, you've been telling us about that Northeast. Yeah. You've been saying, hey, there's a fault line that runs right through there, and it's this one day. Here it is.
There are. And so if my issue is that some of these events, there is no warning, because the warning that people are looking for, they've already had the warning. Weather is one of them.
Yeah.
Right. People aren't preparing for a flood. They're not.
No, not at all.
They're not preparing for a flood. They're not preparing for droughts. Some of these people have wells, and when they don't have no more water in their well, and the city water's out. Do you know on the East Coast, there are certain municipalities, Pastor, that have no more water?
Really? Sort of like what we just saw in California when they went to
like that. They don't. But in this case, though, the water's not turned off. They don't have it anymore.
They don't have it.
They don't have
East
it. It's
Coast.
gone.
You're talking East Coast here.
On the East Coast, in certain municipalities, the water is gone.
I'm hearing that New Jersey might be. I'm hearing that New Jersey could be real low. I'm hearing that some other parts, like maybe even further down, Virginia. Maybe.
There's contamination. There's lots of contamination, lots of saltwater intrusion, but the fresh water is gone, despite the floods. Right. Yeah. Despite the floods. And now we're going to see large floods where, 3 and 4 states are completely flooded. Can you imagine going out in Georgia, right? And there's an inch of water everywhere. And then it goes away within 4, 5, 6, 7 days, only to come back a week later.
Is it fresh water? Are we talking fresh water?
We're talking about rainwater.
Okay.
Do you know what's going to happen to our infrastructure when the ground is saturated?
It's going to collapse. The water, bridges and roads.
It's going to happen all over the place. And then the sun, the intensity of the sun, everybody's going to feel it on their skin. Everybody's going to feel it. It's going to be intense. It already made people sick last year.
Yeah.
It'll do twice as much this year. These things are not declining, is my point.
Yeah.
They're increasing. All these things are increasing. It may change from, we had 1 year we have, lack of water and sinkholes. The next year we have the sun and storms. The next year is something else. But my point is we're being ripped to shreds piece by piece, and it's not going backward.
You talk about sinkholes. You see that one, it was in Tokyo. It's just huge. And then there's still some guy down in there for 3 days. They can't get him out of there. And when you talk about the sun baking us, we've seen the heat waves. And then I think I heard you say that, hey, the summer of 2025 is even going to be hotter than 2024.
It will. Which makes it a tinderbox.
Yeah, and then we got the wildfires are burning, yet we have floods that are up in the mountains of North Carolina.
That's right.
So, I mean, it's so extreme. And then the bitter cold blast. It snowed in Florida, Mike. It snowed in Florida, 10 inches of snow. I mean, you said
that's a norm. That's a norm you guys have to get used to.
I see that. I mean, so what you're saying is these extreme weather conditions, which I know you've been telling us this for about 7, 8, almost 10 years. I remember you telling me this. Say, Paul, there's going to be straight line winds, 130 mile an hour. Yeah, we had it. We just hit California, 100 miles an hour with wildfires in the Santa Anas. We've seen 130 mile an hour winds blowing bridges over in Alaska. We've seen 140 mile an hour winds in Iowa last year in the spring. We're seeing floods in mountains. We're seeing droughts in places we didn't think we'd ever see it. I mean, really, when I think about what you've talked about, okay, so can we talk about what's causing all this? I mean, is this Planet X, is this situation causing the sun to do these incredible things that's affecting the earth? It's prophecy. Is that what's happening, Mike? Or is there more to it than just Planet X? I got a thing here today. They're expecting to see it with the new telescope this summer.
Yeah, I read a dissertation, passed all the reasoning behind certain ambitions trying to find Planet X is because they cannot explain the activity of the sun. Right?
So, they can't.
They cannot explain it. They cannot explain the weather phenomena on the earth and what's happening to the tilt of the earth. They cannot explain it. They cannot explain the tilt of Saturn and Jupiter and Mercury and Mars and Venus and all these other. Our whole solar system is going, it's going haywire.
Right.
But it is prophecy. When in the Bible, when it says the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
Right.
Everybody just think of something. If Jesus says that in the end, the powers of heaven are going to be shaken, that means all this time, the powers of heaven have been what? Stable.
That's a good point.
They've been stable.
Yes.
They've been stable. They've been held in place, just like the Lord said. Things have been held in place to this present time. So, which leads me to believe a day will come, and it will come quickly, when he'll just let go. Then we will see randomness. Then we will see random chaos, because he's not going to hold things together. So the reason we have stability is only because of him. We're not talking about statistics as far as activities of humans. We're talking about what God is actually controlling. So when he allows things to just go random, that's like Satan. The beast kingdom cannot rise until God says, okay, go do your thing. Satan can't do a thing. He can't do a thing by himself.
No.
But when God allows him to operate, you better believe he's going to take full advantage of it.
So, Mike, are you serious? That we're seeing the prophecies of the Bible are Jesus? You quoted, Mark 13. We got Matthew 24. We got Luke 21. We can go over into. We can read Isaiah 24. The earth's going to reel and rock like a drunkard. Pole shifts, Mike. You've been talking about it. Pole shifts. I mean. Is this all because I know it's the Christ is coming? I mean, ultimately, he said we'd have birthing pains, but scientifically, there's reasons for it, right? I mean,
yeah. I think you showed us that in Revelation when you couldn't see a third of the stars. How can somebody not see a third of the stars and a third of the moon and a third of the sun and a third of the day is gone? That only happens if something is in between Earth and everything else. So something in Revelation positions itself in the sky that we can only see, that a third part of it is blacked out.
That's right.
A third part of the sun is blacked out. Something is in between the earth and everything else. And that just so happened, that's when the bottomless pit is open, when that thing is up there. That's when the bottomless. Now, do we have potentials of these things happening this year? You better believe it. There's always a potential of that happening, because there are things out. For example, they just found a very bad thing too close to our solar system. It's called a magnetar. Nobody wants a magnetar close to the solar system.
No,
nobody. That is, you're talking about some terrible destructive power right? Is getting the strangeness. Pastor Paul is getting so bad. You know, when President Trump came out and he said, you know, those things that people were seeing in New Jersey are, you know, these are approved by the FAA, and they've been, you know, doing things up there, right?
Right.
Some of our stuff, they've been doing things.
Yeah, he said
if
that.
you listen to the language, here's the issue. He told the truth. He did.
Mm-hmm.
He told the truth because it was a mixed bag of things. The problem is, for example, last night, the same sightings have been happening all over the earth.
Okay.
And it's not ET. It's not what it is.
No.
And when you have stuff under the water, right? Except this time, mark my words, death will soon be accompanied with these sightings. If you take note throughout history, these things always appear before great wars. They appeared before World War II. They appeared before World War I. They appeared before the great battles in Alexandria, right? In Rome, people wrote about them. The same exact things, right? They're like vampires. They always appear right before a major war, always. And people see the exact same thing. These little lights in the skies, lights in the waters, shields, they used to call them shields. And it's the same thing. Same thing, a manifestation. Because every time we're about to have a great big war, it just so happens that people lose their morality. There's a lack of faith among the population. Every single time this happens, every single time. I personally believe when people have a lack of faith, demonic entities, fallen angels take full advantage of it, because then nobody has armor on, right?
Yes.
Who does not have faith. And they can, you know, God, if God wanted them gone, they wouldn't exist. So you better believe they're here to be the wolf outside the fence line the Lord told us to stay inside of.
Yes. It's a time like never before. Mike, I got to ask you about the asteroid. There's just been a revealing a newly discovered, what they call the Christmas asteroid. It's the name of the asteroid actually is something BP6. I forgot what it is, but it's about the size of a football field, and for the first time they're saying it's going to has a 1.2% chance right now of hitting the Earth. It's coming straight at us. On December 22nd, 2032, at 5:25 a.m., it may hit the Earth.
You know
that's
what?
7 years. Now, we got Apophis in 4 years. This is in 7 years. I'm just going to, is this the Revelation 8:8, boom, boom, the two, or are we going to get hit with this thing, or is there more to come, or what's going on?
There's a whole lot more to come.
Okay.
Likely before that. And if something hits the asteroid belt, nothing is going to keep its orbit. Everything is going to be shifted coming into our solar system.
What is going to hit the asteroid belt? What are you talking? Nibiru?
Within the next 3 months, something is going to hit the asteroid belt within a 3-month period. We're going to have an impact with the asteroid belt. When that happens, there are going to be too many. There are going to be too many different rocks all over the place, and then that's going to set some things in motion that nobody expected. But within a 3-month period, we'll see that event.
Okay,
there's pretty high confidence of that. Pretty high confidence.
Now we've not heard about this, Mike. This is new.
No, you're not going to hear about that.
Is this the Kuiper belt that's going to get hit with whatever this interstellar entity that's going to hit it, or?
Well, I assume with these ring rocks in our solar system and around it, due to its trajectory, if it hits the asteroid belt, right? If it hits it, it's coming in at a pretty shallow angle, which means it will likely hit. It may hit more than one. If it hits one of the outer belts, it will certainly disturb everything else on the inside, right?
Okay.
So either way, it's going to cause some problems, and it's not by itself, right? I doubt if you see anything like that published.
No,
but I guarantee you there will be some surprise, some unexpected things.
What are we going to talk about next week, Mike? You got something else that we haven't even touched here?
I'll say this. I don't know if it's next week,
okay,
Pastor, but when the buildings fall in the USA, we'll certainly discuss it. We'll discuss it.
Okay.
We'll give some context to it.
Okay. Let's hope it's not next week. But we will talk about it when the buildings fall.
When they fall, and they will fall, we'll give some context to it.
Mike,
in fact, we're gonna have a lot of those times coming up.
That's all we need. Are you serious? This can't be true, but I guess it is.
It's the wrap up. It's okay.
All right, Mike,
things are wrapping up.
Mike, again, thank you so much for being with us tonight and being and helping us understand the big picture so that we can move forward and know that Christ is coming for us and we need to be ready. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you coming and being with us tonight.
Pastor Paul, God bless you. It's always an honor.
The honor's mine. Believe me, it truly is. God bless you, brother.
All right. God bless.
Bye.